All right. Today, we're going to crack open a spiritual memoir from way back in 1946. One that, kind of surprisingly, became a secret handbook for some of the most forward-thinking people of our time. It's called Autobiography of a Yogi, and you'll see that its ideas about consciousness and history, well, they might be more relevant now than ever before.
And what's so fascinating is where this book found an unlikely home: Silicon Valley. I mean, this was famously the only book Steve Jobs kept on his iPad. He made a point to read it every single year, and he even arranged for every single guest at his memorial service to be given a copy.
So that's really the big question we're digging into here. What powerful idea is hiding in these pages that could so deeply influence someone who, basically designed the future we're living in? The answer, it turns out, is a completely radical theory of time itself.
Okay, let's get right into the heart of it. The book introduces this really startling concept from a guru named Sri Yukteswar. And it's an idea that completely throws out our normal linear view of history as just a straight line of progress. It's called the Yuga Cycle, and the core idea is that human consciousness isn't just constantly evolving upwards and onwards. No, instead it rises and falls in this massive 24,000-year wave. You can think of it like a great cosmic breath, all driven by our solar system's slow journey through the galaxy. And here's a map of what that journey looks like. Humanity descends for 12,000 years from a golden age of peak awareness. It hits rock bottom in a dark age, the Kali Yuga, and then it begins a slow 12,000-year climb back up to enlightenment. See, it's not a line, it's a cycle. Now, this is where it gets really radical. The traditional Hindu cosmology said that the dark age lasts for an almost impossibly long 1,000 years. But Sri Yukteswar claimed this was a major misinterpretation, and that the entire cycle is just 24,000 years. That makes our journey through the darkness much, much faster.
So what does this cycle actually feel like? How does it play out? What do these different ages, these yugas, look and feel like for the people living in them?
Well, each era has its own distinct flavor, its own unique quality of consciousness. The cycle moves from the Kali Yuga, where humanity can really only perceive gross matter, up into the Dwapara Yuga, where we start to understand the subtle energy behind that matter. From there, we go to the Treta Yuga, where we master the mind itself, and then finally, the Satya Yuga, a true golden age of pure consciousness. Okay, this is where it gets really, really compelling. Because if this ancient map is correct, where does that put us right now? Well, the answer is surprisingly precise. According to Sri Yukteswar's math, the absolute low point of the entire 24,000-year cycle, the deepest, darkest part of the Dark Age, ended right around the year 1700. This means for the last 300-some-odd years, humanity has officially been on an upward swing. We've entered a new age. And what is this new age? It's the Dwapara Yuga, the age of energy. Now think about this. The theory says that all our huge technological revolutions since 1700, from steam power and electricity to unlocking the atom and now AI, all of it is just an external symptom. It's evidence of our collective consciousness beginning to perceive the subtle energies that actually structure the material world. But here's the kicker. This whole age of energy we're in, it lasts for 2,400 years. And as of today, we're only about 14% of the way through it. So if you think the last 300 years were transformative, just try to imagine what the next 2,000 have in store for us. We are just getting started. So you're probably asking, how can any of this possibly work, right? How can consciousness be tied to some cosmic clock? To get that, we have to look at the book's fundamental philosophy. You could call it the universe's operating system. The book just completely flips our normal materialist assumption on its head. It says, look, we're not a physical body that happens to have a soul. No, we are a soul, a point of pure consciousness that has a mind, which in turn generates energy, which finally condenses into what we see as a physical body. Consciousness isn't the byproduct, it's the source code. And if you take that one step further, the entire universe is seen as a kind of cosmic dream. It's a projection from a single, universal consciousness. So everything we see and touch, from stars and planets to our own bodies, is ultimately made of the exact same stuff. Thought vibrations in the mind of the divine. These 5 ideas are really the core of the whole philosophy, and they suggest that since reality is fundamentally mind-based, it's also, well, it's malleable. Through disciplined practices, the book gets specific about a meditation technique called Kriya Yoga. A person can learn to operate on those higher levels of reality, the levels of energy and mind. And they can do things that look like miracles to us, but are really just an application of a deeper, more fundamental science.
Okay, so what does all of this mean for where we're going? If this cosmic roadmap is even partially right, what does our future actually look like?
I think the most profound implication is this. Our technology isn't just something we invent out of thin air. It's something we become capable of perceiving. The discovery of electricity or quantum physics didn't just happen by accident. It happened because our collective human consciousness finally evolved to a level where that hidden layer of reality became visible to us. And if that trend continues for the next 2,000 years of this age of energy, then we are headed for a grand reunion of science and spirituality. The next great frontiers won't just be technological, they'll be psycho-spiritual. We're going to start exploring the inner universe of consciousness with the exact same rigor we now apply to the outer universe. And that leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. Maybe the vision that so captivated a mind like Steve Jobs wasn't just about building better gadgets. Maybe, just maybe, it was the idea that our ultimate destiny isn't to create more and more complex machines, but to simply remember that we ourselves are the most advanced technology in the entire universe.